Hi guys, and at this point I should say welcome back to the channel, but obviously it's only my second video, and I think my first video's only been watched 4 times, and I think they may all be me, so welcome, I can't say welcome back, but welcome. The first video was Groups A and B, Euro 2020, due to start in literally 3 days time, very exciting times for the fans. Now we're looking at Groups C and D. Obviously England Group D, so we'll spend a little bit longer on them. But let's start off with a little look at Group C. So what I've done is, again, you'll see on the screen there a prediction. Forget about actually the scores. It's just all about just getting the actual winner of the group, etc. And again, I'm not going to start guessing who's going to be the winning, the 4 teams to finish third who might end up with the most points. But I think, looking at this, I mean, a couple of key things with this tournament is I don't think people are putting anywhere near enough emphasis on the fact that lots of these teams, there's numerous teams that are effectively at home, if that makes sense. So Holland are playing their games at Arena Amsterdam, or the Johan Cruyff Arena as they call it now. They're playing against Ukraine, Austria, Macedonia. They're definitely winning 2 of them games at least. They wouldn't. I can't see them losing any of them. So I think they're absolutely nailed on to win the group. I mean, effectively, you've got to remember the home advantage, and this is actually a real thing here. There's multiple teams with home advantage, and I think it's sometimes being missed when you look at some of the predictions and stuff. I mean, we'll come to, I think it's Group F. It is Group F, obviously the group of death, later. But the fact that Germany are playing all their games at home, I mean, I think that puts a completely different spin in the group. We're looking at Group C. We've got Holland, who are the favourites, obviously, to win the group. And I've got them quite rightly here to win the group. I think that's nearly nailed on. I think they're pretty much the most certain team to win their group. Again, the Dutch can sort of implode a little bit. And it isn't a vintage Dutch team, but they've got enough quality for sure. Again, we go through squads, etc. in a minute. Then we've got Ukraine, Austria, Macedonia. Actually, it's hard to pick between Ukraine and Austria. I've just had sort of Ukraine edging it. We saw Austria the other night against England. They're quite an industrious team. They were solid enough. They've got some, obviously, David Alaba. They've got 1 or 2 good players. And then Macedonia are, one of the weakest teams in this tournament. I think it's very fair to say. And, I see them definitely finishing bottom. So we'll just have a little look at the squads and call out some of the players. Again, we're not going to spend absolutely ages on this group, because I think I want to spend longer on England's group. But I've mentioned Austria. They've got some good players. They've got, he's obviously not getting any younger, but Arnautovic's obviously a really big, powerful forward. I've mentioned David Alaba. They've got Dragovic. They've got, they're a decent, solid European team. Sabitzer in midfield's a very good player. And there's a couple there that probably I'm not that familiar with who are going to be strong as well. I know that the Julian Boumaier, I'm not even going to go there with that pronunciation. It's one of them guys, actually, the top 2 there. I've recognised his name, and I know they're very solid in the German league. They're going to be solid. I've had to come to third, but picking between them and the Ukraine's pretty tough. I've just had the Ukraine to potentially edge them, mainly because I'm quite a big fan of Ukraine's new kit. The Dutch, historically are one of the best teams in the world. Obviously, they're obviously massively missing Virgil van Dijk from the back. Not to say that they're now poor at the back, but Cillessen in goal's always been good. I remember watching him at Juventus, Ajax for years, very good. Then we look at their defence. De Vries very good at Inter Milan. De Ligt, obviously, I think one of the best young defenders in Europe, and the performances for Ajax in that Champions League run when they lost to Tottenham was remarkable. I think so that's fine. They've got Dumfries, who I know is a very athletic, fast left back. I believe he's a left back, good player. So it's a very decent back line, solid enough. Then in midfield you've got Frankie de Jong. Others there, you're looking at, obviously, Georgie Wijnaldum's going to be playing, an absolutely class player. I know Martin de Roon's actually a very solid player for Atlanta. So, again, I think midfield's spot on for this team. I'd say going forward, they'd love to have a Van Basten back, that's for sure. Luc de Jong's done it for years. Again, never to probably a good enough level to call him. He's certainly not an elite European striker. Memphis Depay's probably the one to pick out. He's, very, very good. And they've got Daniel Marlin there at PSV, who's again a good young striker. I know he's very fast. Quincy Promes at Spartak Moscow. Good. I'm pretty sure he was on loan somewhere last year, maybe back at Ajax. But yeah, Quincy Promes is again good. Depay's the one you're going to pick out. He's got obviously real power about his game. He's had another solid season at Lyon, and they're always talking about him joining Barcelona. I don't think that'll happen anytime soon with Barca's huge financial difficulties, but that's a different matter. But bottom line is they're going to win this group at a canter. I see that as being literally one of the certainties of the tournament. North Macedonia, I've got to be, I'm not that familiar with lots of these players. The fact that Goran Pandev is still playing, I think he must be 37, 38. He's very much been a great player in years gone by, but the fact that he's probably still their main striker sort of says you everything you need to know about this side. I'm pretty certain I think it was in qualifying, they managed to maybe draw against the Germans, or certainly push him close. So, again, they've got through a European qualifying group, so there's not going to be any mugs, but they are going to be falling a little bit short here. They're not going to have the strength in depth of certainly the Dutch, or even the other two, to be honest. So I think it's a safe bet to say they'll finish bottom, but you never know. They might sneak third and surprise a few people. As I said, it only takes them to win, say beat Ukraine, for example, or beat Austria, which they are obviously capable of doing on the day, and suddenly it all changes. Things don't go as to plan. So they're definitely the weakest team in the group, and I'm sure we'll come to the odds later that will reflect that. We're looking at Ukraine here. They've got Yarmolenko. They've got some. They've got Zinchenko. Obviously, had another solid season at Man City. He probably didn't play as much as he wanted to, but he actually started in the Champions League final. Potentially lost his man for the goal, but very good. Yarmolenko's been a good player for years. Again, this isn't. They haven't got a Shevchenko. They haven't got even a Rebrov here, maybe. But they're going to be there or thereabouts. They've got a number of players there. Tomashuk at Dynamo Kiev. I think they're solid. It's a real toss-up between the game between them and Austria is absolutely key here to decide who wins. And again, we'll look at the fixtures and how they come about, and we'll do that now. So again, I think that actually becomes the final game, and I think that's actually going to be almost I could see them both losing to the Dutch and probably beating Macedonia before then. As I said, Macedonia could spring a surprise, but I pretty much see that the final game being the playoff to decide who finishes second in this group. And I think it's good that when it works out that way, really, because as I've said in the last video, the amount of times the last games can become a bit of a dead rubber, where there might be a team who's already won it, who's happy to draw, rest a few players for the knockout round. I think that the makeup of that group makes that well worthwhile. And if we have a quick look at the odds, you got Holland there, are 1 to 3 on. Maybe you can get 2 to 5. Now, obviously, I'd never recommend people backing at their odds. You need to put too much down, but they're 1 to add to a multiplier. So I think they're the one certainty out of all these groups, really, to definitely win it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you see there, Ukraine are the second favourites. I do have them just to edge Austria, but I don't see them much. I think that's a toss of a coin. And quite rightly, North Macedonia can actually get up to 40 to 1, which is massive, but I can't see them, especially as you've got to remember, Holland are playing their games in Amsterdam. It's a massive advantage. Crowd or no crowd, obviously the fact they've actually got some form of crowds going in there. It's a brilliant stadium. The Dutch make a lot of noise. It would be a sea of orange where it can be, and I see that as being absolutely a certainty. So look forward to seeing Holland progress in the tournament. We go to England's Group D. Again, don't necessarily look at the results. I'm calling out here too much. More of the point I'm trying to make, I do see, again, like the Dutch, we get to play all our games at our home ground, so we're at Wembley the whole time. That makes a massive difference. I really do believe that. Czech Republic, I think we beat them 4 or 5-0 in qualifying. Not a great side at all. Again, they haven't got any Nedveds. They're not. That's not a vintage Czech Republic team. I think, in fairness, looking at their results and stuff, they have improved in the last year or so. But I see them struggling in this group. And again, Scotland get to play 2 of their games at Hampden, which I think makes an absolute massive difference. And I fancy Scotland to definitely beat the Czech Republic, which is a massive game for Scotland. If they don't win that, then they are in big trouble, because Croatia is still, we'll come to the squads, but Croatia is still a very good squad. And I've sort of played around with things here and actually had Scotland finish in second. Do I really believe that? Probably not. I actually think Scotland's squad's very weak actually in places, but they are going to play with a lot of spirit. But it's that home advantage where I've just maybe given them a chance of creeping into second, if not third. And the way the group is, if they beat Czech Republic, you only really need to win one game. You are probably going to be one of them better run, third place teams to sort of still get through. So, for England, Croatia is a tough game. I worry that we'll always just sit off the likes of Modric and let them sort of dictate the game. If we play our game and really impose ourselves with our attacking threat, we'll come to the squad now actually. I mean, I think that, England's squad, so let's go through it. I mean, people have analysed this with the 4 right backs. No, Trent's now not playing. You can say what you like. I would have certainly took James Ward-Prowse. He'd have 100% been in my squad. Even if it was a 23-man squad, James Ward-Prowse would have been in it. And the reason being, set pieces are such a deadly part of the game now. I think I want to say 28 to 30% of goals from set pieces, etc. Well, he's the best set piece player who's available to England. He's one of the best in the Premier League. I think he's a bit of a miss. That aside, as I said, it's important that England play their game. I hope we don't play 2 holding midfielders. Jordan Henderson isn't fit enough at the moment. He's only played 45 minutes of football. He managed to sort of gallantly grab a penalty and miss it against Austria. Obviously, that's we're not holding that against him. But I don't see him being match ready. I hope he doesn't play Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips. I think Declan Rice is an absolute shoo-in for the team. I hope he plays Mason Mount, and also that then gives him the opportunity to maybe play Jack Grealish as one as a free. Let Kane, Foden and probably Sterling up top. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Jadon Sancho, but I just think, Sterling is a massive name in this England squad, and I do think his pace causes absolute problems. It's such a shame that Heung-min Son isn't English, really. Excuse me, professional. Because the link-up play with Kane is absolutely essential, and I think if if Sterling can sort of recapture, fill in them shoes a little bit, he's certainly got the pace to do it. If he can actually find his shooting boots, I think he's a massive plus for the team. I see he's obviously playing Pickford in goal. I think we're going to play 4 at the back the first game. I really do. I think I think Ben Chilwell was unlucky not to be the left back, but I think we're definitely going to go Shaw at left back, Stones. The other centre back's really up in the air at the moment, actually. I wonder if he'll go Kyle Walker as one of 2 and then play James or Trippier as right back. It's possible. That's only because Harry Maguire's obviously clearly not going to be fit for at least the first game. Then I'd play 3 in midfield. It would be Mount, Declan Rice and Grealish, given a bit more freedom. And I know that means Mount's going to be stifled a little bit, but I think someone's got to take the hit, as it were. Then going for, I think Phil Foden has to play. I think he's literally one of the most exciting players at this tournament, along with Jack Grealish is doing excellent. We've got him or Lewandowski or Mbappe, and even Benzema's being a great. But we've got one of the best strikers, obviously, in Harry Kane. He's a shoo-in to absolutely start. And I do think Sterling will get the nod for the first game, but I don't think he's guaranteed that he needs to play well, because I can see Rashford. Actually, I really like Jadon Sancho, but I just think Rashford and Sterling are a little bit more of a goal threat, a little bit quicker than Sancho. So I think that's what will keep. I think it'll be one of them 2, and Sancho will certainly be an impact from the bench because he's got superb skill, great player. So can England go far in this tournament? I think they're definitely getting out of the group. I know we didn't pair off against a team from the group of death, but this is a good England team. It's exciting. If we impose our game, we get Harry Kane scoring goals, which he undoubtedly will. Let's see. I mean, we're excited. I'm very excited. Let's see how we go. We go down to Scotland's squad. Scotland, this isn't a great squad. It's solid. You've got Che Adams up front, who's probably about as Scottish as I am. And I'm not Scottish, obviously. Ryan Fraser's, again, okay. It's tricky, John McGinn's a good player. They've got good players but again, they haven't got any standout players. You look at the video when Gazza scored his wonder goal. They haven't got a Colin Hendry at the back. They haven't got a Gary McAllister in midfield. You know, they might have a Gordon Jury up front. I mean, but you know, the point being, this isn't a great side. But I think they're going to mix it up. The fact that they're playing 2 games at hand and really puts them in the mix, I think. And you know, sorry, there is one to call. Obviously, Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney, to be fair, are very good left backs. I'm sure they're going to fit them both in the team, with one player more advanced, probably Tierney. You know, and that's probably a bit unfair to say. Yeah, they're a poor side, but the other thing to call out in this tournament, actually, I've just seen John Fleckner. I know he's recently come down with COVID. I'm sure he'd be fine and get back into the tournament if he does have to miss the first game. But I think that's a key point with the whole of this tournament. I think we saw John Rahm with the golf the other day he was leading by 5, I believe, and got told, you're out now. You're an asymptomatic COVID. I've seen, I want to say, a Swedish player. We've had Busquets. So I think, unfortunately, COVID could still have an impact on this tournament. We all hope none of the players get it, but it only takes a little bubble of players to sort of get it, and big problem. So touch wood that doesn't come into play, but we're already seeing it a little bit. As I said, with likes of Busquets, John Fleck, and I'm certain there's a Swedish guy today who's come on. So let's keep an eye on that. That could be an impact in this tournament. We come to the Czech Republic. As I said, the weakest team in this group, I believe. The stuff that Vidra up front, he's a solid enough player. You wouldn't say he's a great Premier League player by any stretch. He's a bit part player for Burnley. Thomas Sukic has had a really good season at West Ham. Again, I'm obviously talking about the players who I've seen a little bit more, and that's probably doing some of these guys a bit of disservice. But bottom line is, this isn't a great Czech Republic. They are lacking they haven't got obviously a Nedved in this team. For me, they come bottom of this group. And then comes to the semi-finalists from the finalists from the last World Cup, obviously beating England in the semi-final. It's an older team. You look down, they've got Vasalko at the back. But the fact is, likes of Lovren. Some of these guys are getting older and older. It's an old age team. Kovacic is good. Obviously, Modric, if you could let him sort of dominate games, he still will, because he's obviously a superb footballer. Perisic is getting on a little bit. I do quite like Mislav Orsic. I know he scored a hat-trick against an English team. I think against Tottenham, actually. Really, very fast. He was very impressive that day. Rebic up front, good. So what I'm saying, this isn't they obviously haven't got Mandzukic anymore, but this isn't a poor team by any stretch of the imagination. I just think they're not where they were 2 years ago, or 3 years ago when the World Cup was. And I see them sort of... Obviously, normally, if this group didn't have the home advantage for the Scots, I'd definitely have these guys finishing second. I think they probably will. But, I see it as being a bit of a toss of a coin, actually, between the two. Just with that home advantage, I just think Scotland could sneak in. And again, I think my table reflects that. And again, I've put them both on the same points. Let's see. I mean, it's... I'm not sitting on the fence there. I mean, it's a prediction video, but I have predicted Scotland to just edge out Croatia, who will then finish... third. The fact that they'll beat Czech Republic again, I'm sure they'll then qualify as the better losers, as it were. And then if we look at the betting for that group, so England are obviously quite rightly the favourites of the group. We're playing all our games at Wembley, 2-5. I mean, I know Holland Netherlands are more favoured in their group than even we are. But I would say Holland's a much better bet than England. We can be quite a special disappointment. Things can go wrong for England. Things can sort of, things can and often do go wrong. I mean, let's not even go into the Iceland debacle 5 years ago now. But I do think England's got this group to win. Again, potentially add them to a multiple. I think looking at that, I mean, you see Scotland, they're actually the outsiders. And I find that really strange, purely because the fact they're playing games at Hampden. So if you actually then went for a forecast, I've called out Scotland potentially finished second. Bear me a second. Not a dual forecast. I'm looking for the straight forecast. Sorry. So if we have a look here, we've got England, Scotland, 5-1, 13-2 even. I mean, I think that's solid. Obviously, again, people really fancy Croatia to obviously finish second in the group. They probably will, but as I've said there, I think there's a chance that Scotland could sneak in. I think actually at 13-2, that's probably worth a few shekels maybe. But you know, so that's good. What I'll do in future videos, we're going to look a bit further ahead in the tournament. Obviously, I'm going to do the final two groups, including the group of death there. And yeah, I look forward to going through next time. But it's massively exciting tournament. We'll also look at top goal scorers and things, and we'll go through all these bits and pieces in more detail. But again, thank you very much, guys, and see you soon.